There you go.
So what do you want to do?
So it's just gonna keep Tom in frame. If you want to, it's up to you.
Introduce yourself. You guys are Eric and Craig. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Welcome, Eric.
Know a couple of you guys already.
Eric who?
Craig. D-E-K-R-I. Are you already?
West.
You are.
He's the one that responds to emails and does this information.
It felt like it's a Dutch man.
You speak with an accent?
It's a Southeast Parker accent.
Welcome, Eric. This is Tom Coburn, your chair. I'm Mark, vice chair. We have Ryan, he's the treasurer back there, and Gilligan and Gary are your match designers, then we'll have everyone come up and talk to you after the meeting.
Well, we're halfway through the season, 2/3, somewhere in there. Things have been going well. I talked to Tim on the way down, he's not going to make it as he's heading out to Utah tonight. So we'll go over what we talked about and on the RDO thing. Ryan?
So everyone saw the reconcile I sent out twice, thanks to someone pointing out, I just said ERRFU was getting lots of money. And collections are going pretty well. I actually got another 8 checks in the mail today. Other than that, everyone's starting to get checks instead of direct deposits because of the restrictions U.S. Bank is on us. So that's it.
Are those billing in advance checks, or are they still just from last season?
Last season, yeah.
When you mentioned the check thing, I wrote back to you about potentially doing it once a
Once a
month
month, yeah.
and everybody getting a direct deposit. How much does it cost to send out checks to everybody?
It's free. It's free.
You don't have to mail it.
Sounds pretty cheap.
US doesn't.
No, it's through the bill pay on U.S. Bank, so they send them out and everything.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's not cost sensitive.
So then I won't worry about that.
The once a month thing is a good idea, but it's a lot of tracking and stuff like that. I'd just rather do it weekly.
Everybody been getting paid?
Very promptly. Much better than the last strike.
No.
So,
Yeah, you've been filling them out all time?
So, yeah, with that, we are kind of getting a little stricter on match reports and coaching reports. So, match reports are due within 48 hours of full time. So, your job doesn't just end when you're done with refereeing. You got to go home and fill those reports out so we can make sure you get paid. And then, even if you're doing like USA assignments, make sure you get the ARs to Ryan or fill out a match report as well. Ryan should be able to distinguish if it's a USA assignment or not.
And along
For their miles.
on the coaching side, if we want coaching to be a benefit, we need to have the coaching reports in so the guy can actually go over and look at them a couple of days before his next match, which means we got 5 days. We should be able to fill them out and get them in 5 days so the guy can sit down and digest it, do his match planning for the next week.
And one of the things on the match report, it doesn't give you a spot where you can put the coach's the referee coach's mileage anymore. So if you just put their name and then put a number next to it on those, that's the mileage. If you want them to get mileage. After the post-game chat, whether they pay mileage or not.
Are you still doing 2 match reports for Rugby Colorado and ERRFU?
What was that?
Do a match report for Rugby Colorado and then do one for ERRFU as well?
Yeah.
Okay? Any questions on that and why that
Didn't know
is?
it should be.
Okay. Assignment guidance, Secretary.
Howdy. We are hitting 2 of our worst weekends, 3 of our worst weekends in a row right now. So check your April availability. I believe on the 12th, we actually do not have a single referee available through all the matches. And I just realized that Mr. Kenny and myself are going to be in DC and Haggerty's going to be in Vermont. So I need at least 2. So let me know if you can run, if you aren't already assigned to something. You said no on your email, or on your availability.
What time? I have to go to a baby shower too.
Why, are you pregnant?
Thanks, Tom. Making life easier. Anyway,
Gil, I know it's short notice, but there's referees that want to travel here. And I always keep asking me, hey, when can I come? And if that's the case, maybe not for the 12th, but if there's another weekend, then after that, they said it's weekend or two, it's really bad. You can open it up.
19th might be, we'll take a look at the 19th. I think I still have a couple bodies left on that, but anybody that can come on short notice for the 12th would be great.
Do you have me assigned?
Yes. I think I did, pretty sure. I looked through it, if you were available on the list, you're assigned. There may be 1 or 2 bodies left. But I just knew that the 12th was a nightmare. Other than that, we've been getting most everybody games here, there, and everywhere, while still focusing on the identified for promotion folks. You guys have probably figured out who you are by now because you have a referee coaching almost every one of your games. Yeah, and we're heading into the tail end of the season, so playoffs, semis, and finals for high school will be assigned, as will the I don't know what it's called, the competitive region, which includes us and Heart of America. That will be assigned tomorrow along with the NASPRO finals, which is at the end of this month as well. So everything should be up on the website. You should have been getting a bunch of emails today. That's it.
Well, we're moving right along. We're gonna be done by 8 tonight. RDO report, Tim's not here. We've been doing a fairly good job of getting coaches out to most people. Who here has been coached this year and has somebody come watch? Keep your hand up.
Oh, that's right. You keep getting him.
Keeps getting.
That's
You
right.
will.
I forgot about that.
But you've been talking to your coach.
I've been identified.
Yeah, no. We've assigned people to him 3 times and had conflicts.
I've been talking to him.
Everyone fears the people.
Maybe you need to shower. So everybody, or most everybody that's not going out nationally is getting watched. Have you had a coach come to your games yet?
No.
Okay.
That's something.
Welcome back, Larry. Where is Larry? He's back in the back. We'll get you out, get you some coaching then.
After 2 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays is pretty much the extent of my availability.
Say again.
After 2 o'clock on Saturdays and then Sundays is the extent of my availability.
Rugby starts at 1 on Saturdays, but we can work on that. We also have been looking at all the high school coaching reports and what they have to say. Some of it is very valuable. Some of it, we've gotten some very good comments, which is why people can identify. Some of it is some consistency issues. One week you get an A and the next week you get an F, or a D. So that's kind of interesting. A lot of it is the coaches. High school coaches are notoriously parochial about their own schools, and sometimes can use a lot of objectivity when they're giving their reports. So we try to look at that and take that into account when we look at things. But it has been very eye-opening to see what some of them think and some of them don't think. Other than that, Tim was supposed to have had a real problem, and I'm going from memory as I was driving. So that's about all I have.
What's the last meeting?
Steve, since you didn't say no, you're up.
So at the beginning of the year, Tom asked me to put together a group of folks and work on a 5-year plan for the society. So working with Mike and Kaja and then Justin Tafoya, who some of you may know as the tri-referee coordinator, we put together a 5-year plan for the society, really kind of a set of goals. We started with looking at the results from the survey and trying to categorize those into a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we looked at a bunch of different strategic plans related to rugby and referee societies, and modeled ours off of the USA Rugby strategic plan that goes through, I think, 2016 maybe, end of 2015. And created kind of a list of goals in, I think, 5 different areas. Let's see, what are those? Leadership, development, performance, marketing and communications, and revenue generation. Again, those tie back to the USA Rugby strategic goals. And have sent those off to the executive committee, to Tom and Gilligan, who I was working with on this as well. And I have a copy that I printed out if people are interested in looking at it today. Unfortunately, it has some of the review because I just grabbed it on the way out. But it's something that's here that we can look at, and at some point...
You have some highlights you can kind of put out, and then we'll send it out.
I mean, I don't know, I don't think it's a great use of time to sit here and read the specific goals that we have. I think they're meant to be a range of things, some of which we're probably already doing, some of which are very attainable goals for us as a society, some of which are probably stretch goals for us as a society. We looked at a couple different column scenarios, right? So one was, what if things just keep going the way that they've been going for the last couple of years? What do we need to do? What should our goals be to prepare for that? What if the Olympics really take off and people get very excited about sevens? Should that change some of our goals as a referee society, or some of the things that we need to provide? And then also looked at if we continue to see a really increasing large growth in the youth game, in under high school levels and then coming up into high school, what sort of pressures does that put on us as a society, and what should our goals be to meet those? So, yeah, copy of it here. Tom, if you want, I can send it out to the group. You can send it out. You tell me.
Let's send it out.
Okay, I will do that after this meeting.
It's a working document, so if somebody has something that really...
Do the dogs enjoy it?
Yeah, the dogs probably nicer than me.
So what I was going to say is it's a working document. Just because their benefit is not being, you can't make some changes, just people come up with some good ideas. And then we can finalize it out in our June meeting.
And I think even, whatever we finalize in June shouldn't be, here's this document that we'll print out and put on the wall somewhere. I mean, I think it's something that over the next however many years, we should review it once a year. We should talk about it. We should see, are we making progress to the goals? Do they still make sense? So I think it should be a working document for its lifetime.
And review it every 6 months or so to make sure we're going the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great job.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Well done, Steve.
Anybody want to see a copy of it?
You can cheer for him in June. He put a lot of hard work into this. Our video presentations are lacking tonight. That somebody's out of country. Which is a good thing for us at USA Rugby.
Why don't you let everybody know what's going on, because I have no idea until today.
Mark, go ahead and announce it.
So Derek got nominated this spring to be an assistant referee at the Junior World Trophy, and then a referee backed out. So now he is actually one of the 4 referees at the Junior World Trophy. His it's a pretty big deal for him, and he'll referee 4 games. And the Junior World Trophy is the Tier 2 nations 20-year-olds, 20 and younger. So his first game is this Monday, I believe. You can go to irb.com and they should be streaming it. It might be on around midnight. He has Japan-Uruguay, which is a pretty good game for him. Uruguay is going to go, or Japan's going to want to go 100 miles an hour, and Uruguay is going to want to go 2. So we'll see how he deals with the team trying to slow the ball down. But yeah, send him a message on Facebook, wish him good luck. He sure could use the support.
Who else has assignments going out for here?
Internationally? Yeah, Zap's got a test match. He's going to Barbados. He's doing French Guyana versus Barbados, and Kurt, I can't announce yours. That's it. And then Derek has also been nominated by the IRB or USA Rugby to go to the IRB Talent Optimization Program in Stellenbosch, which is, we've had Tim go to that, and you went to the Talent Identification Program. Okay, and Brian's been to that. So if it goes well with that, we'll see what's going on with that. And Owen, Dennis, and Nick Tricarico have been selected to go to the Youth Development Camp in Houston on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then we were also going to host a C1/B panel refs that kind of been overlooked camp. June, well, we don't have a title for it.
Refs who have been overlooked.
Well, I mean,
They're all marked.
I think we should stick with that.
well, I mean, it's just, referees that are C1s, B comp, can still do national assignments, can still make national panel. June 21st in Sacramento, and I have a list of candidates, which this is me as the zone manager taking over every meeting, but I'll be sending it out to the LROs to get their backing, and then they'll let you know. So that'll be announced pretty soon here, because that's coming up. And that's also during the Canada-US game in Sacramento for the Pacific Nations Cup.
You heard it here first.
What?
It's formally being announced on here.
Well, how did I even do that?
Now it's all over.
Now it's all over YouTube.
It's not there yet, I can wait till Monday to upload that.
I'm tweeting it.
That's all.
Jim,
Fire
do
tickets.
you have anything for youth that you want to say? Sorry, I put you on.
That's okay, just a couple of comments that, I've been pretty upset with some of the way referees have been treated by the coaches. Have ruled on a couple in the disciplinary committee, that hasn't been published. We have also, or I sent out a letter to them, warning them. The other thing that so that's one part, and I'm hoping that will change. We'll keep working on that. I think the other thing that I'm hearing back from the coaches is they're still concerned with our referees at high school level not managing the tackle well enough in terms of dangerous tackles and in terms of what's going on after the tackle, players not rolling away. And that seems to come out fairly consistently when I'm talking with coaches, is they really would like to see the society tighten that up a little bit, try to get to the breakdown. And again, there's this feeling among a number of coaches that anything sort of above the waist has got to be a dangerous tackle. And I think we all understand that doesn't make it dangerous just because it might be up around the shoulders. But that's a prevailing attitude. But I've actually been at games and seen tackles that I would call as a dangerous tackle that tend not to be. And people just freak out at high school level. So if I could, ask people to be a little more diligent.
Tim and I were discussing that on the way down. If anybody thinks it's a 50-50, in high school, it's 100. It's high. If you have questions in your mind, call it. Don't think twice about it. Doesn't mean it's a yellow, but it certainly means send a message that that's not a legitimate tackle. And that has been the consistent feedback from the coaches, that we are missing and not enforcing high tackles. When you get to the men's game, it's a little bit different, but high school, let's teach them right, and then things will be easier as they move up. Any questions on that? You agree, Jim?
Yes, thank you.
Are they worried about the tackle zoning as far as the running players, the people running away, or are you just talking about the actual tackle?
That's mainly the actual tackle. I think the tackle zone is an issue too.
Well, it is, but that's a whole different.
Yeah.
It's easy for most everybody in here to understand that's high. It's more difficult to determine who has released and rolled away and who hasn't, and whether the ball's being produced properly. And that's an experience thing. So the thing we need to get right, and it'll give us a lot more credibility, is just a high tackle. If we get that right, then we can move on to the next. Yeah.
On the 50-50 tackles, do you want to call it as dangerous? Do you want advantage play?
No. Well, maybe if he's got one step to make her try, but otherwise, no. I mean, just blow it, be done with it, move on.
One thing I might say, some states have used this and it works really well. They just say armpits or nipples and below. Anything above that, any contact on top of the shoulders, neck or head, it makes it easy to adjudicate. If you do just neck and head, it's tough because top of the shoulders is sometimes neck. So if you do, it's armpits or nipples and below is the policy, and that way we all know what we're looking for. It's a little bit easier to see it.
Yeah, I do think what we Colorado ought to review that, maybe come back with a recommendation
Well, they'll implement it and they'll like it.
good.
I mean,
No, that makes perfect sense. And again, I think it'll make it easier for the refs, the coaches and the players, because they'll know, right now, it's just people freaking, one guy screaming it was a perfect tackle, and the other guy screaming bloody murder. And I think if it was armpit nipples, then.
And I think that's easy then to explain to parents and to coaches,
Yep.
grandma and grandpa, they
I
all
like that.
understand what a dangerous non-tackle. So there's a document, the game management guidelines, only it's for high schools, and so that's just got approved on Wednesday by the high school, the youth high school committee, but I can send it to you, it says it in there, so that way they have a basis to say, mid-season, let's put it in.
Good.
And then we can all, it's way easier if you're refereeing, if you think about it. Any touch on top of the shoulder, neck, or head is a penalty. Makes it a lot easier.
Does it still give the concession for if somebody's ducking into something?
No.
So pure and simple.
Pure and simple, if you touch the neck, head, or top of the shoulder, it's a penalty. And it is strange because if you think about it, there's some no fault, right, head contact right now.
Right.
But if you do it, then they go lower, or they don't make that tackle and they let them go by, and there's always a way around it, but it's the one clear direction you can then put out there to say, here it is.
So Kurt, if you do get a call like that where someone ducks under it, and you're gonna get pushback from the player screaming, he ducked under it, the answer to that question is, the height of that player is irrelevant, it's your responsibility to tackle safely. And then that shuts them up.
The other one is the jersey whip tackle that I think it's dangerous, it's not high, right? So jersey whip tackles at the high school level, none of us call them at the adult level, because I think you'd probably get left off the pitch. But you have to call those things at the high school level, because that's the shoulder injury time. And I think that's one as well. I don't know if you get into that.
But very little, I mean, there've been, not a lot of them, they haven't been a big problem, but I think that.
You can pull somebody to ground by their jersey. You can't load up and get the whip going. And I think that's where you should,
If you take them off the ground,
certainly off the
it's
ground.
the same as lifting.
But you can see, it's a big guy's a little guy's jersey, and the little guy ran past him, and it's like a slow down for like, it's like, no, and then all of a sudden it speeds up and it's like whipped around you can see it coming, it's horrible. I'll send it to you.
Can you demonstrate that right in front of the camera? to make
No.
sure that gets on the-
Is there a secondary signal for that?
There it is. The other thing I was going to say on this, so I was watching actually Nick at a high school game, and I think if there's an impact that looks awkward or it looks like it would hurt more than the normal impact or just doesn't look right, go ahead and whistle it off at the high school or youth level, because think about what a grandmother watching that or an athletic director watching that is thinking. And so if it looks horrible, just stop it, just to get everybody calmed down and reorganized, even though it may not be a stoppable thing. Does that make sense? So, huge smashing tackles that just look like somebody's limbs probably came off. Although completely legal and above board and everything else, maybe just stop it, slow it down, and award a scrum to let it go again. Because it's just, think about what the product that people are watching from afar and think, do I want my kid doing this or do I want my school doing this? And I think that's what you have to think about. So if something looks awkward or strange or dangerous or just horribly aggressive, think about that in those terms to say whistle off and scrum, to the attacking team. So I also add that to the discussion because I've seen a lot of things happen to where, yes, lead, there nothing went wrong and you played through it, but everybody in the audience went, that's allowed in this game, and it's just like, oh God, we just lost at least 3 kids from this team.
You gained 3 more, that was badass.
Ah!
What happened to our kind little Zach?
It was all
Children.
So everybody's in agreement, nipples, armpits, and above. And if it looks bad, stop it. Yes, sir.
So if we're adopting that rule on high tackles, shouldn't we adopt a similar one on the tip tackles? So, do we want it to be like vertical or how much over vertical?
Vertical
Landing on the shoulders, landing on the...
That's already.
Vertical would be upside down. If you're past horizontal, it's done.
Well, I understand that, but it's...
But that's
There's
in
also
law.
borderlines there.
That's in law. And if you want to go, if it looks bad, go ahead and call it, that's fine. And you can use whatever explanation, but just slow it down like Kurt was saying. As far as, but that's already straight in laws. This is adding something to the high school game that's not truly in the laws, but will make the game more manageable for us. Fewer coaches yelling at us for allowing dangerous tackle. Because that is the common denominator in all of them. Allow too many high tackles. The other team was always the other team that was always tackling. But if it's happening one way, it's probably happening both ways.
Can I just add to what Ray was saying? I mean, yes, in the law, it's clear about if you're horizontal and you're coming down on your upper body, right? That's a tip tackle.
Yeah.
But, I did a game yesterday where a coach was very frustrated that I allowed a defending player to lift, not to horizontal, but lift and drive someone into the ground, coming into contact with their back, basically. So it was not a tip tackle, but it probably fell under this category that Kurt is talking about that's like, yeah, it didn't look so good. So I think there is there could be some more stringent application to lifting at the high school level if we wanted to.
Thank you for more eloquently saying what I meant to say.
I think anytime a kid comes off the ground with both feet off the ground, it's worth stopping. And I know that sounds probably more overly parental, but anytime a tackle happens where the kid's both feet came off the ground, immediately worth stopping and just resetting. Even if there's not a penalty, just scrum to the attacking team. It just, want to make sure everybody's alive. Because it looks like one of those horrible things.
Yeah, I mean, you can stick with the law, but you can still stop it. Because high school tempers go quickly, correct? I mean, 1 minute they're playing, next minute the tempers are gone. And it's very difficult to get that back sometimes. If you call it, given the time they did the scrum set, tempers will calm back down and say, hey guys, that was a pretty hard tackle, let's make sure the feet's down.
Steve, in a game yesterday, I called a kid lifted the guy on the ground and we were to do what you said, and I knew there was some power line. Immediately, he looked back at me like it was going to happen.
So did he stop?
Yeah, he stopped.
So he didn't actually yell him to the ground?
He did not, no. I completely was
Well, blow the whistle, say thank you for sending him down to set the scrum.
I don't want to.
I knew what you were thinking.
You know his intent was.
No, that's fine. And the reason if you can actually stop him, the reason I say not to penalize him is he's done everything you wanted him to do. He stopped without doing anything bad. He had enough, but he stopped. Say thank you. Let's keep him on the ground. Scrum him with the team. That's fine. You can penalize him if you want. That's okay.
You can scrub it to that same team.
Yeah.
I've done that in the CU match where a guy had him up, and before he could do anything bad, I just immediately blew the whistle and just go, guys, it's unsafe, we're just gonna scrum. And CU has the
So you
ball.
prefer a scrum in that situation?
Yeah, just,
Yeah, this is because he knows, he did the right thing by not throwing him down.
Yeah.
You gotta reward that. I mean, that's complying with what you wanted him to do. Now, if he has him up and that's just drops him,
like, nothing good can come of it. And you might save a kid's life, and you definitely save some paperwork for yourself. You get your ass chewed by the PR like I did, but, I think that's on him.
but, let's make it a game where parents want the kids to participate. And kids enjoy it, and the coaches enjoy it. Okay, now we're moving into part of the season where we have playoffs, championships, and everything's happening. And hopefully, we'll be having a significant number of games where we'll have ARs. But we'll have a significant number of people here at the ARs.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music as far as communication with the referee, signaling, and what you're watching for.
So, most all of our national guys have radios, and you're all familiar with the ear text. We've all used them or whatnot. But some primary responsibilities of assistant refereeing is judging touch and goal, kicks at goal. But then the main responsibility is foul play. And I've seen a couple of instances where I think maybe because it's a national referee and he's awarded foul play, you don't feel that you have to stick your flag out because you're like, oh, well, he's got enough to do it. I don't know if the referees in the debrief are telling you to give you instructions or whatnot, but here's two scenarios that happened last weekend. So one was in Vancouver, where it was just a shoulder charge. This game was to get a playoff spot, so it was an intense game, and it was a shoulder charge, and then a wrap. Like the League brothers used to do it all the time. That tackle like that. That was the yellow card. The referee had it, penalized it, and the AR stuck his flag out and came over the comms and just said, "Brighton, I have foul play." And he says, "Yeah, I got it." And I go, "Well, do you want to?" And the referee just said, "Do you want to take a second to talk about it and just calm the game down?" And that's maybe something you guys wouldn't feel comfortable doing with a higher level referee or whatnot, because you're like, well, it's his game or whatever. He knows what he's doing, obviously, but it's also something that maybe could be done. So there's another call that happened last weekend. Is there was a knee that the referee penalized and immediately brought him over, and the AR saw it as well, but didn't come in over the comms, and maybe if he could have maybe talked to him and talked to him out of a red card, or maybe just thought of maybe a yellow card. Now granted, the video footage is not very good, but we're kind of instructed for foul play, you start at red and work your way down. Some of the extenuating circumstances are, what's the tenor of the game? Is someone hurt? Was there a fight afterwards? Are the fans freaking out? Are the coaches freaking out? None of that really happened. And it wasn't really clear on the video, but again, I'm not disagreeing with the referee, but he put it was a red card and was like, okay, all right. So maybe if you came over as an assistant referee and say, yeah, I have it as well. And if he blows you off, he blows you off, but at least you're trying, and you could maybe say, I I have foul play. Number blue 14 did have a knee to the head. The referee would say, yeah, after I have 2, I'm going to send him off. And you go, well, you can't talk to him like that. Like an example of this would be like, we'll do it like this. This will be the example. Tom will be the assistant referee. So penalty right there. He'll come over the mic.
Mark, knee to the head, red 6.
Well, I have foul play.
I have foul play report, knee to the head, red 6.
Yeah. And I'll bring him over. If I saw it, I'll lead the conversation. Tom, what I have here is numbers, blue 9, knee number 6 in the head, and I'm going to send him off.
I say, I agree, there was a knee to the head, but it may not have been intentional. In my opinion, it was not an intentional knee to the head.
And again, like the referee can very say, like, I'm gonna send him off, he's gone, and you just kind of say, you try and just restate, like, if he gets a yellow card, just kind of say, okay, but it wasn't that, and knee to the head is not very brutal, but like a punch there, punch to the upper torso area, just kind of work with your referee, and the same thing goes forward if it's a yellow card, like a tip tackle driven, and I come over and I go, Kurt, what I saw is blue 15 took a pass one and dropped him, and I'm going to put him in the bin, and Kurt can go, well, he landed on his head. You want to rethink about that. So just work as a team, and just because a referee is doesn't mean that he's better than you, or you're not part of the team. Just make sure you get the right call at the outcome of the day.
Add something.
Yeah, John first now, right?
My experience, AR, very seldom have I heard the ref say, watch for foul play and so forth. But it's never said, talk to me. And with some people, hey, I'm an experienced old man, but if the ref doesn't really want to be talked to, I can shut up also. So I guess what I'm asking is, those of you who are these top-level refs, give your ARs a little bit of a clue of, you were just talking about, reconsider that type conversation. But before the match, when you're talking to your ARs, tell them you want stuff like that.
And again, that's kind of why we're talking about this now too, because we should all have. I know that Kurt, Derek, and I, Tim, all the higher guys. I'm not saying again. I'll have a protocol like we all have someone we'll talk to. We want you there, at least half hour before the game, have a little chat. This is how I want you to come over. If you do have foul play, and come over the comm, say, Mark, I have foul play, and either say advantage to blue because blue has the ball, we can get a try out of it, or stop the game because the other team has the ball, and we need to stop the game. And basically, what I'll come over, if I see it, I'll lead the conversation. I'll ask if you have anything to add, because maybe I saw blue 15 with a high tackle, and I penalized it. And I was so glad I get that call, but I missed red 5 with a punch, and that's what you saw. So if I come over and go, Ray, I have blue 15 with a high tackle. I'm gonna sin bin him. Do you have anything to add? Well, the other guy clocked him in the head. Oh, okay. Well, so basically, I have blue 15, high tackle. He's gonna go in the bin, and red 5 hit him in the head. He's gonna get sent off, or he's gonna get bin. I'm gonna reverse the penalty. Is that correct? And Ray would go, yeah. Or if he's like, well, no, he knocked his eye out, so he's gonna go red card, whatever. Just help him out. It's a team. Don't feel that you guys are like, a referee comes out of town and he doesn't go through that. Ask questions at the pre-match. We pride ourselves on being good ARs here because we have this nice little stadium and you do it and you travel around and the level of ARing is they've never even done it. This is their first time they've done it. They don't usually do it. Even people over from England never AR. So it's we have Aspen, we have Glendale, we have all these opportunities, national finals, Enscaro, Sevens, Revies. So just kind of work with them and ask questions. The referee's not going to go, God, I'm in for a long day because this guy keeps asking questions.
Brian's up.
I'm glad you asked that, John, because in our conversations at national assignment kind of levels, we're encouraged to use our ARs on foul play decisions. I had one a couple weeks ago, G Unit was on the line, and so is Haggerty, and I had a red card situation. And sort of like Mark was saying, had I maybe taken my time a little bit more, I might have realized nobody's fighting, everybody's not getting up all up in arms, the guy doesn't have blood streaming down his face. Yeah, he got punched in the face, but maybe it could have been digressed to a yellow. Now, the red card is carried through, disciplinary appeal got denied, and they upheld it based on the video evidence, but at the same time, does it have to go to that process? As ARs, you see a bigger picture than the referee sometimes. We're 5 meters away, you see it from a broad angle. So if there's a tip tackle, it's harder for the referee sometimes, right on top of it, to judge that severity of it. So I always tell the ARs to flag it if they think I've seen it. But then, on that note, chime in anyway. Even the referees, they maybe flew in that morning and maybe are thinking about all these other things that they've been told to do, and they forget to go through the full protocol of foul play, or they take it for granted. So, like Mark said, that's why we're discussing it now.
Yeah, I understand all that, but I say again, you're refereeing God versus Jesus. Tell your ARs how much information you really want. Give us an idea, because I've had some that have appreciated everything I've said, and I've had some that it's just.
And that's up to the referee discretion, and that's the way it's going to be. Some referees are approachable, some referees are flat-out jerks.
Well, sure, but if you say before, I listen to you, but I don't care about every little thing, okay, then I won't mention every little thing. But if you say, I'm concerned about A, B, C, and D, tell us.
One of the things we're directed to, it's clear and obvious, right? So that's the hot word to use, but clear and obvious, you shouldn't be coming in over the radio ever if it's not wildly clear and obvious as to what happened. I think that's one of the guides that we can all use when we're ARing, and when I'm ARing, if it's not clear and obvious to me as to what happened, I'm not going to come in over the radio on it just on a normal thing.
Yeah.
Foul play is different though, and I think what they're trying to say is every referee who's going to give a card is looking for a friend at that moment to just confirm what I saw, and there's no reason why we shouldn't flag things and then have that nice discussion, because it's good to then just support, hey, Brian, I saw the same thing, here's what it is. Or if he comes over and he's like, I saw this and I'm going to give a red, any thoughts? He's clearly looking for me to talk him out of that, or to just confirm what he's doing. So
And then I say, thanks, now you can do the paperwork.
yeah. So it's just like, and like Tom said, if they come over, he or she comes over and says, here's what I'm going to do, and you don't agree with it, restate whatever it is that you're saying. And I've definitely had this happen to where I'm ARing and it's like, no, it was a purposeful boot to the head on this player on the ground, a boot that struck the player's head. and then they're like, oh, like the heart rate has stopped, they slow down, and okay, now I got it. That's a red card. It sometimes takes an extra beat because everyone's thinking of things, but
There is, ARs, what's our first primary responsibility? Touch. Get touch right. Read the law book and the touch manual, or the AR manual, about what's in touch and what's out of touch. Number 2, be aware of foul play. If the referee is really wound up, and referees get wound up, and you got your flag out, and he's come over to you, Kurt, take a deep breath. Calm it down. Doesn't take any extra time. He takes a deep breath, and he can start to think, and he'll understand what you're trying to tell him. If they're just really wound, sometimes that, during the headlight look, you don't get it across. Take a deep breath. So we have foul play. At the goal line, sometimes referees are unsighted, if you can believe that. If they are, and they look at you, I had the question last year, were you happy with the grounding? Yes, I was happy with the grounding. You might know about the offside before the grounding. She looks at me and goes, yeah, the girl that scored was offside. Oh, penalty the other way. I mean, you can ask the question, if they don't want to know about it, fine. But they knew they were in video, so they don't have to know about it.
Would you like to know about the outside 3 degrees?
No, but that play was offside. So ask them and slow the game down. When you slow it down, it's half a second to a second. It's not as long as you think it is. It's like when you 5 seconds with using. 1,000, 2. It's not use it. Breathe. So it's that type of thing. You've got time, and it's not near as long as you think it is.
My own question.
No, Gil had his arm up
Sorry,
first.
go ahead, Gil.
Well, just one of the big pieces is if you have foul play, even if a team is scoring a try, I mean, don't interrupt and don't stop the game, obviously, where we were talking about, hey, I have foul play advantage, I have foul play. But there's been some stuff that I've seen where it's almost like the AR did the whole hockey thing. Oh, they scored a try, let them out of the sin bin, or out of the penalty box. If you have foul play, even if it leads to a try, or their try comes afterwards, I mean, keep it out. The referee's gonna wanna know, even if he doesn't act on it. Because, he or she can then talk to whoever it is. And then, actually, with what Tom was just saying right there, if you see the referee is on one side of a ruck or a maul, near the end goal, feel free to mirror it and tell the referee where you're at so they know, and so that they know they've got a set of eyes right there and can stay focused on what they're looking at.
The other thing not to do, and you're going to be working with your buddies here, so don't do this to your buddies. Happened to Luscombe last weekend. Line out. He looks at the guy happy. The guy doesn't give him any response. Play goes on. 2 minutes later, he calls a scrum.
Big red card offense too. Yeah, it's terrible. Okay, who is it?
Thanks.
Guy in red.
Yeah.
Brian.
There's one a red team.
Brian, to build on that, a lot of times you cannot see the number. Guy with the black headgear, hey, I've narrowed it down to 3 people. Guy with the yellow shoes.
Yellow boots. It's always that guy. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you get it.
Find a way to identify him and just watch him. Kind of make it like a game, like a detective show. Like, oh, I got you, guy with the red beard. I saw that. I'm gonna tell on you.
It's always the ginger.
Oh, I got it. Oh, you turned around. It's 15. Yeah, 15. You're mine. That's kind of the process I go through. Yeah, whatever. I'm just saying. Like, oh yeah, oh I got that. Oh, it's 15. Oh, I got you. I'll report you to the principal. I just say that back in your head. I know it's kind of funny. Gary?
We've talked about kind of the individual foul play. We still sometimes have a big dust up out there, something you can do if you're the AR. If there's, third man in, fourth man in, fifth man in, green 7, black 6, green 2, just say it out loud to yourself. So it'll help you remember it when I've got to give it to you in a minute here, Mark. So we don't want that to happen, but it still does happen.
So, just clear and obvious calls, foul play, get a number, 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 identify them, help us out, slow things down, and then if the referee sees it, let him lead the conversation, and then if he's making the wrong decision, try and help him without smacking him with a 2x4, just kind of, just kind of practice it, and then ask questions if you're not comfortable with it. Ask questions. Don't we're there looking at your. When we're in the stands, we're watching the ARs too. We're not just, and when we review video, we're looking for the ARs, and the people higher ups will make decisions on potential future games and assignments. They're looking at that stuff too. It's always kind of thing. We want effective, quality people, so it's an important job.
I did a foul play. Referee came in, AR came in. I'm like, okay, I stopped the game. And then I look over and he takes off. And he runs a huge loop. Like, what the heck is going on? And he runs around the blue team or whatever, just to find the guy's number. He's been spotting this whole time. And then he runs back around and they're like, ooh, there's number 12. Man, you get a gold star.
Any questions with this stuff, feel free to reach out to any of us, like Kurt, Tim, Brian, any of the higher guys who do have ARs a lot. We will have some summer tournaments coming up in Aspen and then some of the stuff here, so we have lots of opportunity at AR. I mean,
I guess watch rugby, watch international rugby. There's a lot of those conversations that take place, and it's good to hear them and hear how efficient you can be.
USA Uruguay game with Smorchevsky and stuff. The referee was talking to him the whole time. What's that? Huh?
watch the Bulls Chiefs game. I mean, the team, even at the highest levels, the TMO get it wrong. Like, it was a shocker. That's when, Craig Joubert, first 5 minutes, it was a kick, take it back, kicked, it was cleared out, but charged down, so it should be a 22. And the TMO just gave him a bunch of jibber jabber.
Yeah, but
the
you know,
TMO
he
said
says that
right, but
TMO.
then Joubert asked to clarify it again,
Yeah,
and he clarified it wrong, and the TMO agreed with him.
yes. I mean, you gotta just get it right. No game is curse 22. I know Jen is just smirking badly over here. Tell me I didn't get it right.
It's just amusing when you think we get
I got it right. He didn't get it right. He got it right.
It's fine, it's fine.
Yeah, that was a great story. Jen, you can talk to Jen about it one time about AR.
So you do a really good job for everybody in this room except you.
Here comes the bus. Just chuck her under.
All game long.
All day long.
Jen, I've got a punch. Then afterwards, nah, he didn't hit anybody. He just had to go.
Yeah.
That's what I realized.
That was that guy's time.
Oh, the dynamic duo. Oh,
So, being that we don't have any here tonight, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? I mean, halfway through the season, halfway through the year, any thoughts, questions, concerns, worries, issues?
I have a question. Ball out guidance from USA Rugby or IRB?
Yes. And what was it?
Oh, okay. So,
That,
Gotta be.
that it is.
Out is out.
Out is out and moving is out. It is not a hand or two hands or 15 hands on the ball. It is once
If you
it
have
is off
15
the
hands
ground.
on the ball, you're not calling it right.
Interesting.
The one in the past that Richard clarified when he started writing the game management guidelines was you have to have control. And I think in his mind it was very clear what that meant. And I think for the rest of people it wasn't quite clear. In his mind, control meant if you stood up and walked away, the ball would come with you. So you were grasping it. So I think he's now clarified it to say, well, the IRB clarified it as well, but Richard's now clarified it in a couple different ways with a different language to say you must have the ball basically in your hands to then be able to clear his ball. Yeah. So the control of the ball, complete control of the
So
ball.
the phrase I've been using and has been working really well is just two hands in passing or two hands in moving, like moving it out. So and then
Well, let's get the phrase that we all want to give to players now. Let's agree on whatever, because if that's it, then I like it. Let's all use the same phrase though. If we all use the same phrase for one season, this question should go away.
But it doesn't have to be moving, because if it's come out,
It's
it's out.
If the sun shines on it or two hands and moving, it's out.
The old convert poop on it
So,
comes to mind.
why don't we use it though? If it's sunshine on it or the two hands and moving,
It's out.
There you go.
well, no, there can be sunshine over it, on it, but a leg over it, and that's not out.
No, that's not sunshine. The legs are still on.
Well,
It's in the
Well,
shade.
if you're doing it at my
Shade,
room,
part of the ball.
What if the sun is setting?
What if
and
it's
the ball
all-
is
it's like 5 p.m.
the ball
It's
guys,
rising.
look, the ball could be like that, and that could be like that, and that's not out. But the sun is definitely
No, your
shining.
butt's in the way.
Okay, so there, that's not
That
out.
counts.
Or here, that.
well, and if you're laying down, Mark, if you're like, do a push-up,
8 man.
and the ball's between your legs.
That's not out.
You know, that's not out, but put your side, that's not out either.
Oh,
Kenny, what was that mean?
So when it's cleared, when the ball's cleared from the ruck, or two hands in the air.
So can we all use the same phrase though? I don't,
Yeah,
If you're bound.
clear from the rock, 2 hands and moving.
are we all okay with that?
So one hand moving is an out?
How are you gonna do that?
Oh, you know.
Hands-on and moving, how about that?
There you go.
1 or 2
How do
hands.
you do that? How many times you see the number
Well,
H?
the only person I know, Bobo can do that right now. You can call him that ball, that's about the only guy I
Number
know.
eight, scoop it out all the time with one hand. True.
Hand on and moving.
Right, so when that
Or
ball comes
ball
to the number 8, like that, to their leg, it's out.
But that's clear from.
So cleared from the breakdown
the
or the
piece.
scrum, yes. Or
Or 2
hands on and moving.
The other thing about that, if the scrum half's standing there with his hands on it, looking around, what do you say?
Use it.
Use it. There it is.
And then how much time do you give it?
Right?
And how long is 5 seconds?
Just
1 second.
Correct.
1 or 2,
Yeah, I
correct?
said I got one of those 2 calls correct.
In my opinion, you should never call that.
Well,
Make him freaking use it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
in
Use
my-
it.
in my
Come
case-
on, we're all waiting.
In my case, the ball was out on the second one, and the winger was just standing there, and 9 was away, and I called it out, and the Babos guys came and smashed into him, because 9,
Call it out.
well, 11 didn't know what to do with it. You know, and the ball was clearly 1. He was just standing on the ball, like, what do I do with this thing? You know, because 9 wasn't there. And so I was like, use it. And then the Babos came and smashed him, and then the next thing is like, whoa, you're charging into me. No, I gave you the option to use it or lose it.
Ideally, it didn't look good. So end of the day, we gotta rethink, and you can talk with Brian how to recover that, but end of the day, it was just so fast, and it didn't look.
Well, the first one was fast. The second one was, in the second half, he wasn't fast.
They both didn't look very good.
Well, so why should we do when somebody's standing off the ball then, when the ball is cleared 1?
Well, we'll let Brian handle that with you.
I understand, but there's a question that I'm putting out to the forum.
If the ball's clearly won,
Yeah,
you have to give him use it, you make sure you're 5
and
seconds.
then if it's
correct,
not used,
then you turn around and you scrum.
that's what, okay, good.
But 5 seconds is a long time. And
Take
that's,
5 presentation, 5 seconds is a long time.
That's why I'm saying you should never actually have that call. It's in place so they don't just tiddly fuck around and waste time. Make them use it. I mean, that's it.
well, it's basically in place
Don't keep it
because,
in and can start scrumming it up and turning over and stuff. I mean, nobody wants to get a turnover, especially when it's usually in a critical situation where you're trying to set something up. The key is, the purpose of the law is to freaking make them use it, you know?
well, the purpose of the law was they didn't like the way New Zealand beat France.
Well, they didn't like Northern
Sat
Hemisphere,
there
right?
and held the ball and held the ball and held the ball.
Wow,
Right, exploring.
So I mean, maybe Brian, the answer is that make eye contact with the 9 or whoever, say, use it. Or 9, use it. I mean, you said a general verb, who's he talking to? So maybe, 9, that's once, that kind of thing, maybe that'll help you out. Yeah,
But 5 seconds is forever.
we should all time.
You could write half the length of a rugby in 5 seconds.
I can get at least 5 minutes.
Okay, 40 minutes.
Is this rugby field down the hill you're talking about?
Right, so when we go over the pre-match conventions, we don't usually do the ID check. But I've had
Conventions?
the boot check and the mouth guard check for high schoolers and such, and the talks with the captains, but we've never talked about ID checks, and I've had one captain kind of suggesting that, one coach that it had to happen in a game on Saturday. So it's a high school
Check
match.
IDs?
Yeah.
No, you don't check IDs, what you're allowed to do, but I don't want the ref to get involved in it. If a coach has a problem and says that kid looks like he's 27, he can go to the other coach and say, I would like to see that kid's ID, and the kids are supposed to have the IDs with them, or the coach is supposed to bring them in a folder. And a coach is quite able, the referee should stop and let them do it, but don't get in the middle of it.
Okay, thanks. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lessons,
It's good to know.
always more, so don't.
Guys, we are not the sit police, we are not the player police. Period. We're not there to deal with that. Coaches can sort that out. It's always been that way.
But you give them a chance to, coach comes up and says, I'm worried about those 2 kids, so I have at it, coach.
Yeah, and then
to
just
work it out.
wait,
Yeah,
let them
yeah.
finish their fill
Yeah.
up, check, and then start again.
The number doesn't mean anything, so the words I mean, the words, it's not SIP, it's registration. You register with USA Rugby, and you get your registration. There's a number that's associated with your record. That number doesn't mean anything though. So if you're registered with Rugby Colorado, you're okay. That's all that matters.
So we don't need to tell coaches, I need rosters with SIP numbers, and we
No,
don't turn in rosters,
but you
we
need
don't
rosters.
turn in SIP numbers to disciplinary committees?
That's a difference, so for
It's not
collegiate
SIP
adult,
numbers
that's
anymore,
different,
just,
yeah.
just the guy's name, this Fred Brown.
So that's for Rugby Colorado, but
Rugby
what about,
ERRFU, we want the SIP numbers.
Yeah,
Because eventually I think what they're trying to do with USA Rugby is we're gonna have the all players list on there, and if people have been red carded, their numbers blocked where they can't be put onto the roster. Am I correct with that?
Eventually. Yeah, when the competition management system gets up and going, you'll have that.
So that's the reason we need the SIP numbers. We don't check the numbers unless there's an issue. If Coach A has got a problem with Coach B's players, they have to bring that to the union. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is just to collect the rosters. And the reason for the rosters is, number 8, come here, you've just been given a yellow card. You have to make sure you have the right name, because how many times have we said, oh, he just picked up a game with us, we've never seen him before. We can't do that anymore,
Yeah.
because there's some ramifications that can be
Writing a number used to dictate that you actually went and did it before the internet came around, and that's where that carries over from. The fact that we have the internet now, they're printing the rosters right from the all-player system, and so you can't be printed on the roster if you haven't registered. So the number is it's a carryover, right?
they're not,
Yeah.
We're not printing those though.
writing on cocktail.
Don't be pedantic about, oh, there's no numbers next to the name, so he writes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 next to everybody. I mean, don't worry about that.
The main thing is get the players' names,
Yeah.
what position they're playing.
The other thing to do is if you get it and you've carded somebody and you refer back to the roster if you didn't get one, ask somebody unrelated who that person is. So you ask the coach or the captain to get their name, and then just ask somebody else on the sideline and be like, oh, hey, who's that kid? I think I went to high school with him. Oh, that's his name? Okay, now I've got it. Write it down. Just to make sure and confirm that's the right person, because there's definitely been.
Yeah, we had a question of the maybe a night in a high school game, didn't we? There was a high school game where initially the guys, they said, well, we don't have that player. Then they went back and looked, and the name was just a little bit off, and it turned out they did. But get the name, get it right.
Should we not do a referee on the roster?
That's the plan, is not to ref it if they don't have a roster.
Just on that, I mean, I had that situation come up. It was
Yes.
20 or 30 minutes before, no, it was a couple weeks ago.
Me yesterday.
Yeah, and I said, I need a roster, you have a phone, go online, write down the names of the players that you have on a piece of paper. I gave them a pencil to do that with, so I think it's a pretty easy thing for people to deal with these days.
It always helps when they confirm the match, just remind them,
They've also been warned numerous times that they won't have a referee if they don't have a roster.
Anything else?
Who wants this?
I just have a law question.
Oh, that's me.
Actually go into Eric.
So it'd be nice to get everybody else's perspective on kind of circumstance in terms of when does a tackle happen. So in the game, there's a tackle, players go to ground, but the tackler is not in contact with the ball carrier when they're on the ground. Momentum, or he loses his grip or whatever. Ball carrier gets up without releasing the ball and runs. I penalize the ball carrier for not letting go of the ball, getting to his feet, and then running. It's happened, kind of the same type of circumstance happened a couple times during the game. The coach comes and says, at the end of the game, how are you interpreting this tackle? So.
What is the definition of tackle?
Off the ground while held.
When he hits the ground, is he held?
Well, he was when he hit the ground, but it wasn't while he was on the ground.
Well, if he was held when he hit the ground.
He's on the ground when he hits the ground. Is everybody calling it like that? Is that good with everybody?
So let me kind of clarify this as well, to kind of push it in the question. We have such an emphasis on the tackler rolling away.
Yes.
And this was in Derek's presentation in Boulder, is that New Zealand, when he went through, and it was such a good tackle, and that tackler cleared that he bounces out of it. Basically, if I tackled Kurt, with everything with a tip tack, like ankle tap, he's tackled and held. Because you don't want to like punish Kurtz for doing a great thing and letting this player get up with the ball. They're all trained in practice that when they get to the ground, they release the ball, get to their feet, and pick it up. So why not do it in the game?
Correct, well, the coach was coming into me saying, doesn't the player need to be held while on the ground to be tackled?
No,
So-
they hit the ground.
Yeah, so I was explaining to him my perspective, which was what we're talking about, and he was
So just
not in
be
agreement.
very
He
succinct,
was
what you
not in
said
agreement.
is when he hit the ground, he was held. As soon as he hit the ground, the tackler released, got to his feet or did whatever, which is what he's supposed to do.
Well, yes, in
And
terms of intent, who knows what the intent was, in terms of did he intend to let go of the guy, or did he just lose his grip?
it doesn't matter.
From the referee's perspective, it didn't really matter to me.
So and it's Mark's saying,
So everybody would be in agreement in terms of that would be the proper way to call it.
Yes.
But they have to be in contact when they get to the ground. So if we run into each other and then both fall to the ground, that's not a tackle.
Correct.
So you need to be able to.
Just throw.
Yeah, if I just toss them down,
If
and so
they-
you need to make sure that we both were in contact and grasping one another, or I was grasping the ball carrier, and our knees hit.
Correct.
That would then be the tackle. But if anything but that, you have to allow the advantage of the offense for momentum, if they have it. So if it's not a clear tackle, then you have to allow them back to their feet playing it.
So as long as you're suggesting, or as long from a referee's perspective, it was a clear tackle, once they're on the ground, the tackler is not obligated to be in control of the player anymore.
no, because you don't want him to.
Correct.
I see that more in high school as well, of players just thinking, oh, this is not like football, I can just, spring up and go.
Well, anyway, it became an issue because the coach he didn't badger me or whatever. He was saying, how are you interpreting this tackled player thing? Because he was under the impression that, no, the player needs to be held while on the ground.
And if it looks like it's becoming a trend, especially for a certain team or a certain player, it's worth taking 2 seconds out of the game to say, look, when you hit the ground, you gotta let go of the ball. And, sometimes we just don't get it. It is what it is, but.
Yeah.
And then look at the other side and say, and if he has any hands on you, holding you when you hit the ground, you have to release the ball before you get through. So just do it straight through and you're done.
I mean, I see a lot of it where players just bounce off the ball. Don't reward him and punish the tackler for doing his job. I mean, that should be a penalty for not releasing the ball.
Yeah, it's a good thing if the referee.
It just takes 2 of those penalties and they'll catch on.
Well, they didn't catch on very fast. I'm just saying that if you have referees calling it different ways, then they're obviously confused about what they are supposed to be doing. The coaches,
But again,
that guy didn't call it.
It's a good point to bring up because it's it's not an easy call to make, to be, fair. So, because all of a sudden the player's up and running, you're penalizing him for not releasing the ball.
Yeah.
It's not, for people that don't know the game very well especially, it's not very clear to everybody what happened there. So it's easy to get a lot of flag. And I've definitely seen and wanted to myself at times be like, let's just squeak by this. But you're right, in that it's worth bringing up because it's not an easy.
an easy way to approach it may be, if he jumps up legally, not held. If he jumps up illegally, held. Tweet, boom. Because tackle player was held, it's penalty. If he's not held, he can go jump right back up.
No, it's creating your own reality.
What?
This is creating your reality.
Right.
You're
And that's not a bad thing.
If we announce it, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, you just announced what you saw and how you called it.
And Dave, the whole thing is to be consistent.
Yes, no, believe me, it was going both ways, and that's why he was questioning me. He wasn't, yelling at me saying, "Oh, you do our guys," because it was in both directions.
Yeah.
But they didn't get it very well.
Create
Despite
the
all the
reality.
penalties.
I screwed everybody.
Create the reality through communication.
The message penalty wasn't really working.
Which is when you stopped and said, this is what I'm calling.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty. Anything else? Motion to adjourn? What was that?
I'll let you turn this off. Perfect.